Come behind the scenes with Wave Murano Glass. Today we're going to take a look at how Volta crafts this beautiful vase. First, he gathers some clear molten glass on the end of a blowpipe. This is scorching hot, 1100 degrees Celsius. He's now checking if there's any bubbles, and he's found one. He's going to use his straight shears to pull and snip that out. Then he's going to use a wooden block to shape the glass before blowing a bubble into it. At the same time, Benji's gathering some colored glass. They all look orange when they're hot, again using the wooden block to shape the glass before popping a bubble into it and inflating it some more. He's then going to use his tweezers to open the top of this. He's actually creating a snorkel, so he's now using his jacks to make this into a nice round tube. Before then, using his tweezers to pull this into a point. It has to be a particular angle and shape because this needs to suction onto the glass within the furnace. Here he goes. Instead of blowing, he is sucking clear glass up into the colored tube he just created, hanging out in the furnace, letting any excess drip off. He then takes it to the marva and rolls it out smooth. Finally, back at the bench, he's going to use his diamond shears to cut off the pointed excess before grabbing his jacks and bringing this colored glass around the clear glass now within the center of it. He's making this a solid shape again. Just pulling it straight and cutting off excess again with his diamond shears. He's making sure that this is a beautiful wrap for Volta, getting it nice and pointed on the marva before heating it up one more time. Volta has taken another gather of hot glass and we're ready to combine. Benji brings the hot wrap over to Volta and it's added into the piece. You can see this is really teamwork. Melissa, Benji and Volta all working together, keeping the pipe turning and the piece in action. This will turn into a beautiful ribboned effect within the glass, which we'll see a little later on. Next, Volta grabs his tweezers and he pulls this glass through. This creates a ribboned effect within the glass, and the clear within this colored wrap means it's quite suspended. He's also shaping this in now with the wet wooden block, making it one cohesive piece. Finally, he takes one more layer of clear glass and with a bigger block brings this around on center to the pipe. Next, he adds a constriction point between the pipe and the bubble. This allows us to break it off a little later on. Then he uses wet paper, actually with a graphite fabric, to start to flatten the sides. With someone capping the back so the bubble isn't squished, he then pulls the glass and shapes it more flat with the cork. Melissa's now bringing Volta a cookie foot. You can see her spiralizing this on the ground, but she won't be throwing away the excess on that pipe. This cookie foot, which Volta's now putting onto the base of the piece, is simply so that we can stand this piece up inside the annealer. It will later be cut and ground off, leaving just the vase. He's now tweezering this, pulling it a little thinner and shaping it out before Melissa brings back that excess shaped into a puntello, adding it to the bottom of the piece. We now have the vase with two pipes attached, and using the constriction mark from before, Volta gives the pipe a tap and it cracks off. He's now going to the heat and he just wants to change the front of this vase, so only the front half is within the reheating furnace. Bringing that back up to a temperature, we can start to work with it. You can see it's scorching hot at the front, but it's a little uneven from where it broke off the other pipe. We're putting a wet cloth around his hands to protect him from the heat, and he's pulling that glass with his tweezers, making it a little easier to thin it out. He's then going to take some special shears and cut this excess off, thinning and straightening the top of the vase. With one final heat, he's now going to use a wet paddle to flatten that down. It's the steam on the wood that allows us to rotate on the glass nice and evenly. At this point in time, Volta's going to check the measurements of the vase. We're trying to make as many even pieces as possible. We've got to elongate it a tiny bit. So he's heating this vase up, and with even turning, he's going to start flaring the top of this vase out into his perfect shape. but also angling it down slightly will be elongating the vase to meet the measurement he made before. You can see here the ribboned effect within it, and we're done. He's adding some water for thermal shock before Benji brings a hot fork, and with a tap of the pipe, the punty comes off, and Benji's taking this to the annealer. It'll then be stood up on its cookie foot and annealed for 24 hours. Thanks for joining us.